Then he said, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. That's good news, brothers and sisters. Praise the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to everybody that's here in the name of Jesus. We're going to talk about today the Great Tribulation. And that's something that we don't hear a lot about, even though most people will admit that it seems as if we're living in the last days, which we are living in the last days, and the Bible clearly supports that. Because the Bible gives you all the signs that will lead up to the coming of Jesus. But we got great misconception concerning the end of the world, concerning the Great Tribulation. Because we know right now we living in a world that's in big trouble. The world is messed up from one end of the earth to the other. The world is messed up. All kind of bad stuff happen. But the Bible is telling you it's going to get worse and worse until it's the worst time man has ever seen. But the big misconception about that, we've all heard in traditional circles that there's going to be a rapture to get you out of great tribulation, where you don't have to worry about great tribulation because you're going to get raptured off to heaven. But that's not what the Bible tells. As a matter of fact, the Bible preaches that certain people that know God will have to give their life up. And nobody is ready for that, but that's what the Bible teaches. Certain people are going to have to give their life up as a witness to Jesus Christ. You say you want to be a witness of Christ, well, you're going to have to really put up a shut up. A lot of people. Now, the Lord got a place for certain people to get away. Everybody won't die, but there is no rapture. Understand that. Now, we're going to take a look at, we're going to start off in Matthew 24. And again, the title is The Great Tribulation. The disciples asked Jesus, what would be happening when you get ready to make your second coming? And he told them exactly what would be happening. Here in Matthew 24, pick it up at verse 3. Okay, go ahead, bro.
And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?
Now, the disciples asked Jesus point blank, what shall be the sign of your coming, speaking of his second coming, and the end of the world? So he's going to proceed to answer that. Go ahead.
And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you.
Go ahead.
For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
Now, the first sign that Jesus gave is about deception. And this then went past everybody. It went over everybody's head because we assume we can go to any church and we can find out about God, which is not the truth. If you pay attention to this verse, you should assume that the average church is going to be lying to you about God, because he said, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name. That's not a few. Many shall come in my name, saying I am Christ, and shall deceive many. That's an important message. We need to take heed concerning the last days. Whole lot of people deceived in the name of Jesus. You can call on Jesus all you want. If you don't get his teaching right, you're still in trouble. A lot of people going to stand before him. He said in Matthew 7 on Judgment Day, they're going to say, Lord, I cast out devils. Lord, I did many wonderful works. He's going to say, hit the fire. I never knew you. That's in Matthew 7. You can read it on your own time. But go ahead, pick it up at verse 6, because after the spiritual sign, he started giving us physical signs. And we see all kind of atrocities right now. We see this going on, so we know we're getting close. Go ahead.
And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
See, and we see that. We see wars, and we hear wars and rumors of wars. But go ahead.
For a nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrow.
See, so right now we know we living in the beginning of sorrows. We ain't got to the end of sorrows yet. We just living at the beginning. In other words, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And it's bad now. But he's going to let you know it's going to get 10 times worse than what it is now. But right now, we living in these days where we hear wars and rumors of wars. We see nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And we see famines. We see all kind of atrocities. We heard of tsunamis, stuff people had never heard of. Cyclones, all kind of stuff taking place. Earthquakes in diverse places, like he said, killing thousands of people at one time. That lets you know the Lord is in control of everything, and that lets you know the Lord is very displeased because he controls everything. You can't put it all on Satan without realizing that God controls Satan. He's letting it happen because we out of line with God's will. So he said, you're going to see pestilence, that's disease, earthquakes in diverse places. This is the beginning of sorrows, but now he gives the most important sign of them all, and the average person who think they know Jesus, they don't understand this sign at all, at verse 15. Skip down to verse 15. This is the big one. Go ahead.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso read it, let him understand.
Now this is the big one of them all. The abomination, he said, when you see this, the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, when you see it stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. First of all, to get a full understanding, you need to have some sense to go back to read Daniel the prophet, because he said Daniel spoke about. But if you think the Old Testament done away with, you won't go and read Daniel the prophet. That's where a lot of people are deceived at. But then he went further to say, whoso readeth, let him understand. So you must get some understanding of this. What's going to happen, even though most people don't know what the abomination of desolation is, standing in the holy place, what's going to happen anyway? What you supposed to do when you see it? Go ahead, verse 16.
Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains.
So it's a time to flee. Now, why would Jesus tell you to flee somewhere if he's going to scoop you up to heaven? He said flee. That's the difference between look up and wait on the rapture. But go ahead.
Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house.
Don't go back in your house for nothing. You don't have to store up no food. The Lord got a place for you to escape to, but there is no rapture. But then again, he going to leave certain people to be a witness for him. And we're going to get to that, but go ahead.
Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes.
Now this is an urgent time. So therefore, it's expedient that we know what the abomination of desolation is that's standing in the holy place, what that sign is. But let's see what the world is coming down to, what that event kicks off when you see that. He told you to flee, right? Skip down to verse 21 and let's see what time it is. Go ahead.
For then shall be great tribulation.
Oh, that's the title of the lesson. For then shall be great tribulation. Great tribulation. That's a hard time. Now, we living in hard times now, but he's talking about the hardest of them all. Now, when shall be great tribulation? What we read at verse 15. When you therefore see the abomination of desolation. But go ahead. For then shall be great tribulation. Go ahead.
Such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
The worst time the world has ever seen or will ever see. Going to kick off, but it started with that sign at verse 15. So read that one more time, because he said if he didn't make his second coming at this time, it wouldn't be no flesh left in the world. But read verse 15, because I want to make sure you hear that. Go ahead.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso read it, let him understand.
Okay, you should go back and read Daniel the prophet. So we're going to take Jesus' word because we believe in him. So we're going to go to Daniel the 11th chapter. Because Daniel spoke about the abomination of desolation that's going to stand in the holy place. That's what you need to understand. But we don't have no concept of God's will, so that goes right over all our heads as a whole. Daniel 11 and verse 45, let's see what this abomination of desolation is, what he's talking about. He mentioned the holy place, so that's a key. That should be a key for you. But go ahead, verse 45. Daniel 11 and verse 45. Go ahead.
And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the sea in the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him.
See, this is him right here. This is an individual the Lord is warning you about, who's going to be on a rampage. He's going to be taking over. He's going to take over all the area in the Middle East. That's what his goal is.